Blessed be my spiritualist, and welcome to another episode of Witch Please. It is I, Odin the Seer, and today I'm giving you the skinny on something that I use regularly. Alright, witches, so I had a lot of people who were like, well, they loved my video on how to cleanse and fortify a space. But I had some questions where people were like, can I put them all together? And can I do this? And can I do that to save time? I do have a tendency to not put them all together. I have a tendency to go one by one through the space. However, in a pinch, I will use a little mixture that I always use to be able to kind of mix it all together and get this cleansing done quickly. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to share this with y'all so that you guys can be able to, use it within your own practical workings and cleansing a space. Now I want to make it very clear that this is a base, okay? I'm using it for my cleansing. You can use this in other ways as well. And I'm going to try and make this video quick, but I'm also going to try and give you a couple of different variations that you can use. So we are going to be making little cleansing balls. And what they do is they assist with you being able to cleanse your space or fume your space. You are going to need prunes. Now you can also use dates, or you can also use figs, or you can use apricots. But I'm going to be using prunes for this. You're going to need a bowl, scissors, a knife, a spoon, red sage, myrrh, cedarwood, copal if you'd like, sweetgrass, a pestle and mortar, and red wine. I'm just making a little bit, so I'm going to take 7 prunes out. Okay, so let's just start cutting these up now. I am making these as cut up as I can, and I'm going to stick this into my bowl here. Now, you might be asking why I'm using prunes. Well, prunes are good for release-all. Okay, it's about cleansing and purging. If you think about what prunes do, it helps clear up the system, right? So this is a good addition to this type of incense because it's going to cleanse the space, purge it. It helps facilitate release. Now, I know that sounds kind of gross, but that's what it does. So that's why I use prunes. So now we are going to add in our oils. So the oils I have here are Clary sage. Now the reason why I was using Clary sage, and you can use whatever type of sage that you like, sage oil, you can find Clary sage oil, but it's very hard. You can even find white sage oil, but it's hard to find red sage oil. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to use Clary sage. It is not just a cleansing vibration, it is also an uplifting vibration. And this is what you want to do, okay? So you're using the prunes now to be able to facilitate the release of the negativity and the vibration that's being held within that space. But you're using the Clary sage to be able to uplift the space as well. When you're releasing that negative energy from the space or banishing that negative energy from the space, you're actually trying and starting the process of allowing that vibration to lighten as well. So when it's moving out of the space, it actually has a uplifting vibration to that energy. So it's not just going to go and attach itself to something else. So that's another reason why I like to use the Clary sage within this. So I'm going to be adding in 7 drops of Clary sage. Alright, so the next one we're going to be using is myrrh. Now myrrh has that fortification energy. It has that protective energy. It has that banishing energy. I just like to put this in as well to be able to bring that scent up. I want to be able to bring that vibration up, and I want it to be very aromatic. So we are going to be adding in 7 drops of the myrrh essential oil as well. The next one we're going to be using is cedarwood oil. Now, as I told you before, cedarwood brings in that foundation. It's grounding, it's solidifying. So as you notice, anybody who has watched the how to use that cleansing incense that I've made, we're going through the same principles here, okay? The only thing that we're really adding here differently is we are adding the prunes and we're adding the wine, because those actually create a different vibration as well. It facilitates a different type of experience. I also add these other botanicals in because, considering the fact that we're not layering things up, as we do with the other cleansing video. You want to be able to bring in other elements to try and mimic the outcome you would get if you were going through the whole process. So we are going to be using 7 drops of the cedarwood oil as well. Now, I always open up a bottle of red wine and allow it to be able to ferment with air in it because I cap it so I don't have any mold or anything like this, but I kind of want it to be kind of a really kind of strong fermentation of the wine. Okay, so I don't open a fresh bottle and then use it. I will open a bottle, drink some of it, and then leave some when I'm making these types of things. I just found that it works better. We are going to be putting in 3 tablespoons of this. Red wine is transformation. It's a fermentation process. It changes one thing from one to another. It has a way of being able to intoxicate. Red wine also has a very healing and comforting type of environment. And that's why when you have a lot of belief structures, they incorporate red wine into their rituals because it does have a spiritual connotation as well. So we want to bring that into this mixture. So what we're going to do now is we are going to mix this together, trying to pulverize as much as we can and make it a dough. So you want to stir this until you get a form of a paste. Now, pray over this while you are doing it. I have a tendency to say my own prayers, but I will also recite Psalms 51 and Psalms 23 while I'm doing that. So, as you can see, I have pulverized this, and it's a sticky kind of goopy paste. And that's what you want it to be. Now, I'm sure there's a few of you that are like, well, this is kind of like cafe incense. And cafe incense it's a whole process. So I don't want you to really kind of associate this with cafe incense. Cafe incense is a process, it's a spiritual growth, it's an exploration while you're making this. This is using the principle of cafe incense, but creating something very different. This is for cleansing a space. This is for fortifying and removing negative energies from a space, dissipating negative energies. So this is what this is more focused on, okay? Whereas when you make a cafe incense, whether it be the angelic cafe incense, the voodoo and hoodoo cafe incense, or just your standard cafe incense, that is a whole spiritual journey. Okay, this is more of a functional type of thing that you want to use to be able to help cleanse and fortify a space. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we are going to make our powdered mixture. Again, you can use whatever you would like in this. This is just my recipe for the one that I use when I'm cleansing space. And to be honest with you, I use this recipe as well for many other things that I am doing. If I am making a love incense, I will use this. If I am making a pregnancy one, I will use this. If I am making a lost lover one, I will use this. Do you see what I mean? Because I love the whole binding quality of this, right? It sticks things together. You can really work it, put the energy into it, and be able to get amazing results. So keep that in mind when you're making this, and let your intuition guide you, witches. Let it guide you. All right? There is nothing like intuition. All right? Okay. So let's start off. I'm going to be using my red sage. So I'm going to be putting my red sage, and I'm going to be putting a whole bunch of this bad boy in here. See, there you go. There you go. Yes. Now, for those of you who do not know the properties of red sage, check out my video. I give you a great detailed list on my cleansing incense for your space. I use the red sage because if there's any trauma or negativity or whatnot, these things here, this one is important for me to be able to use the red sage. I don't necessarily use the standard kitchen sage, and I do have a Clary sage vibration in here as well. But I'm adding the red sage because, again, I want to be able to give it as much moxie as I can. I'm not going to be going through each room with the incenses or the burning botanicals. I'm going to be doing this in one go. So I really want to be able to give it as much moxie as possible. Okay, so the next thing we're going to be using is our myrrh. And as we know, myrrh is for fortification, it is for cleansing, it is for protection. And I'm going to be putting in quite a bit of that as well, all right? And we are just going to drop that right in to the mixture. Now, I'm going to start pulverizing at this point, and I'm going to be saying my prayer. And the prayer is going to be for protection, it's going to be for cleansing, it is going to be for purifying, it's going to be for alleviating any kind of trauma that is in the space, it is going to be to bring in solidity, foundations, it's going to be able to allow people to realize their goals and dreams, to be able to give them a good foundation for them to move forward and to really take away anything that is hindering them. And the reason why I'm doing this now is because I want to really break down the myrrh. And if I have some of the other ones, it may make it a little bit more difficult for me to break down the myrrh. So I kind of want to break down the myrrh and put it in with the sage so they're really well combined. Now, I know the Copal I did not put in the video when we were talking about how to cleanse your space and fortify your space. Now, the reason why I like to put Copal in here is because I want to be able to add in the purification, I want to be able to add in the love, I want to be able to add in a different element to this. Again, we have to remember that we are not going through the whole processes of each botanical individually, okay? So we're going to have to make some substitutions here to be able to add a little bit more moxie, a little bit more power to it, because we're not putting in the same amount of time, okay? Now again, this cannot match the process that you're taking, but as a witch, as a magical practitioner, you want to try and mimic as much as you can. Just like if you talk about ambergris oil. Ambergris, the actual ambergris itself, has its own property. When you mix two other oils together trying to replicate it, you're not going to get the same effect, but you can try your best to get as close to that effect as you would. And that's what we're doing here with this incense. So I'm going to be taking quite a bit of this as well. There is no actual portions, right? Just go with what your intention is. Go with what your intuition is telling you. Okay, so we're going to add this in, and then we are going to pray and combine it together again. So I'm going to take about 1 inch of sweetgrass here, and I'm going to just cut it into small little pieces, and then I am going to grind this and try and pulverize it as much as I can into this mixture. And again, sweetgrass is also great for bringing in the sweeter parts of life. It is great for being able to bring in a certain level of peace and comfort and tranquility. And it is great for being able to keep a vibration at a heightened level. So we want to be able to put in this and again, try and mimic what we would get from the whole process of cleansing a space. This room, just doing this process, has warmed up. I am sweating. I actually feel almost like as if I'm a little bit intoxicated. And that is normally what you're going to get when you're working and making this type of incense. The process, although swift and not as time consuming or intensive as you would by making a kefe incense, it still has that vibration. And as I said, if you start sweating, if you start feeling dizzy, if you start feeling any of these things, those are all common things that you may find while making this mixture. So the last botanical we are going to be using is cedarwood. Now cedarwood I do not put so much in. The reason for this is that the cedarwood has a tendency to be harder to break down. So I'm only going to put in the very smallest amount here, if you can see that. I'm just going to add that into the middle of the pestle and mortar here, and I am going to try and pulverize it as much as I can. Got a sweat going on here, and we are almost done. So now what we're going to do is we are going to take this mixture and we're going to add them both together. Now, I have a tendency just to put whatever I have in here. Sometimes it's too much, sometimes it's not enough. But I'll put in whatever I have. If there's too much, I try and work it in as much as possible. If there's not enough and it's still kind of liquidy, what I will do is I will have to dehydrate it for longer periods of time. So let's just get all of this in here. And now we're going to mix this all together. And we are also going to pray while we're doing this for the intent that we would like to see come out of this mixture. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we are going to take parchment paper. You know, it can go rancid. right? You don't really want that to happen to these. So for me, I will put it in my food dehydrator because I know that it's going to dehydrate it very quickly. Within a couple of days, boom, I have them ready. Now, if you live in a place like Arizona or you live in a warm place like Spain or whatever, please feel free to put it outside with a lot of sunlight for a couple of days and you'll get the same effect. But the main thing is you want them to dry as thoroughly as possible. If you take a look, this is not too much, right? It doesn't look like a lot, but it is. Because you don't make the balls very large, okay? I will make small ones. Now, if I'm doing a cleansing a big space, then I'll make larger ones, but I have a tendency to just make the small ones because, you know, even if you put one in each one of the rooms, it's quite all right. We just take a little piece. Now, this is dirty, y'all. This is gonna be a little sticky. That is one of the balls. And you just keep on working those. You can make this on a regular basis. Now, when I'm doing my cafe incense, I will make large amounts because I want it to last me throughout the year. I don't want to have to make it quite often. But, again, this is entirely up to you. So I'm going to continue forming these balls and we'll be right back. Alright, so I have finished making the balls and I will put this now into my food dehydrator. If I was in a warmer climate that had a lot of sunlight, I would put this in direct sunlight and let it harden. Now, that little amount that I had made 28 balls. I will use this for cleansing spaces, and if I need to do it quickly, if somebody, you know, wants to have their house cleansed before, let's say, a partner comes home or whatnot, I will use this because it's quick, easy, boom, 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 and it's very effective. But I will also use this if I am cleansing a space for ritual. This is a great way of being able to have a space cleanse and purify. So let's say that if I am going to be going to remove some spirit activity in a space, I will burn this to cleanse and sanctify that space before I do any ritual there. And I've also been known to bring this with me when I go to, let's say, the beach or whatnot, and I want to do a ritual there to be able to keep that cleanse and that purifying energy around me. Alright, so I have not chosen a name for this yet because this is from my own personal stock. So, which please, family members, if you can think of a wonderful name for me to call this, please feel free to leave a message below. I will be selling this in my online shop for those of you who would like to have this specially made by me. I'm looking forward to hear what you guys have to say about it. And that is our episode for today. If you have not subscribed, please press subscribe, join the Witch Please family, and do not miss out on a thing. You can follow us on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, as well as Facebook. You can always send me a personal email at witchpleaseofficial@gmail.com, or you can leave a comment below. I've said it before, and I will say it again. It is a pleasure to have you in my world. It is an honor to have you in my magic, and you are always in my heart. I will see you again on another episode of Witch Please. I love you, boo-boos. Bye-bye. I was facilitating Elise.
You like that?
Yeah, that was funny.